Recording. All right. We are live, and Tim Figley is the other guy. Here, but Tim Figley, a certified coach, and myself also. My name is Scott Kokenauer. We're a couple of losers who
We've lost.
Losers, but learning losers. Losers who are learning. We will be getting into our stories, our particular stories, and be able to point you to where you can listen to those. We're both working on those now. But what we're talking about is companies that have to be closed down because of not knowing what they don't know. And Tim and I want to read our personal experience by helping you learn some of the things or discover some of the things in your particular situation that you may not know that you don't know. And we are using as kind of a baseline, we're using the How the Mighty Fall, which is a book by Jim Collins, and you want to go out and get that. Real quickly, go to servingstrong.com/2, and you will see more about this particular project that Tim and I are working on. So we're actually in the second episode. We meet every other Tuesday, the first and third Tuesday of every month at noon. And we're calling it Here's To. It's two guys talking about what it takes to have the inner strength to overcome the volatility of an economy. And we're pulling from our personal experience and using some of the stuff that has been written out there by Jim Collins and other authors. Today, we are talking about greed. And in particular, in the book Jim Collins wrote, it's called The Undisciplined Pursuit of More. So we're using the word greed to kind of describe that. So Tim, you want to add any thoughts, or you want to start with the content?
Well, I think it's interesting when we look at some of the things you mentioned here, and when we look at why companies fall, and he says the undisciplined pursuit of more. Really, when that happens, and how do we get there? So this is intriguing to me to see how we get to that undisciplined pursuit of more, and I think it's also intriguing the first part of that word, undisciplined, because it doesn't just say the pursuit of more, right? It says the undisciplined pursuit of more. Mm-hmm. So it is an intriguing topic, and I think anybody who would like to look at some areas or some markers of maybe what they can prevent, how they can prevent some failure. This is a good one today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. And speaking of what you said about undisciplined, there's a quote that jumped out off the page on page 55 of the book. It says, "To be clear, the problems of stage 2, which is what we're talking about, stem not from growth per se, but from the undisciplined pursuit of, growth is going to happen." And that's what's interesting to me, is that greed, or the undisciplined pursuit of more, is, like we said last time, weeks ago, no one wakes up in the morning, how can I close down my business? So it's not a willful undiscipline as much as it is, like we said, what don't we know? What don't we know that we don't know?
Yeah. Kind of a blind spot there, I think.
Yeah.
You kind of get a blind.
Good way to describe it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let me ask you, where does greed actually come from? Where does it start?
Yeah, I love this work. I love the research that goes into this, and I love to bring us back into the model. The model is so good because it really gives a starting point and an ending point to how the mighty fall. Mm-hmm. And So when we look there, we're on stage 2 today, and we touched last week on the model. So the model, the How the Mighty Fall model has 5 stages. Stage 1, the hubris born of success. And now we're moving here into stage 2, which is that undisciplined pursuit of more. So when you say, where does greed come from? I really think that it comes in many ways from stage 1, right? So there's some success that a company has, and or anybody has, a team. We see there's a lot of in professional sports with athletes and teams there too. You can see it in churches. You can see it in individual lives, right? There's some success, and we've all heard maybe the older, wiser mentors say, "Don't let it get to your head," right?
Right.
Don't let your head get too big. Well, that's stage 1. Your head gets a little too big.
Yeah.
And we ride that wave of success into territory that we probably shouldn't go into anymore. And I look at that is when we say where does greed come from, I think that we feel like, okay, we have this success, and now we have to do it again, or we have to run harder, or we have to get a bigger taste of more, right? And so we start to run. We start to run harder, but we forget the disciplines that may have got us there,
Right.
that anchored us in being successful in the first place.
Yeah, that's true. You know, as you were talking, I was thinking about how addicted the human, our human condition. We're addicted to comfort. We're addicted to adrenaline, to accomplishment, and that's kind of where we settle. And you know, it's just a natural thing to want more. I mean, in fact, not so much a bad thing.
No.
You know, a lot has occurred because of the entrepreneurial spirit. Perhaps maybe could we say that we're talking about the dark side of an entrepreneur, of the entrepreneurial spirit?
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, what are the signs of greed? You know, if I was listening in on this and I'm an entrepreneur and I'm hearing 2 guys talking about an undisciplined pursuit of more, what does that look like?
Yeah. You know, I love the markers that in the book you can look at, and there's a few that stick out to me. So how do we know that there's signs of greed? Because I know that I've experienced it. And when I was experiencing it, I didn't know what was going on. Mm-hmm. I was just excited. I just wanted more. Right?
Yeah.
More. I mean, you know, I had a taste of some success, so then I wanted more. And it wasn't until the mighty fell, you know, in my own life, or until there's a fall, that I was able to look back and distinguish the difference between greed and a healthy, I guess, progress. So then there had to be some sort of how do I prevent this from happening again? How do I look and measure, or how do I sense this greed is existing? Mm-hmm. And one of the markers that sticks out to me is that when people, after they become successful, there's some hubris maybe born of success, and they get into this stage 2, the undisciplined pursuit of more, that they confuse big with great. Mm. So he creates this difference between confusing big with great, where we always have to get bigger, as if big and great are the same thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've experienced that, or if that makes sense or not.
Yeah, same thing. It's in fact, I used to say as a CEO, there's competition, and within the competition, the competitors that are doing the same thing I'm doing, they are either people that we want to separate ourselves from because they're out to gouge the market, or they're just another company that we haven't grown big enough to absorb. Now, is that hubris or what?
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, definitely, bigger is better. More influence. You know, you can speak at big things, and people seek you out. What we forget is people seek out those who are small as well, but they're very good at what they do. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that one of the things I think that is interesting, I'm going to use the word the spirit of greed. Because the spirit of greed does not have internal satisfaction or fulfillment with the process and the disciplines themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a young player. You know, I coach some basketball, so it's like a young basketball player that may watch a championship and they think it's just all about that trophy. You know, if they watch the NBA championship, they just see this is where they got to, right? But they don't realize that the practice that went into it, and the passion for the practice, the passion for serving, the passion for the daily disciplines, the passion for the everyday process is no longer there. We have to run after something because we lack an internal fulfillment. And so I look at greed as a lack of fulfillment. And greatness is being able to find greatness, find fulfillment today, find fulfillment next week, find fulfillment in the process, and find fulfillment in progress rather than just the goal, just getting to perfection. Because at some point, if we even get to that dream, if we even get to that goal, it's going to be gone at some point. So what are we going to fall back on? And I think that there's something to think about there, because it comes from in here, it comes from in the heart.
Yeah. What's the difference between arrogance and confidence?
Yeah, I think that that the way I like to think about it is arrogance puffs up. Arrogance puffs up. In other words, so there's success, but then we lose perspective after we've had success. And we now are arrogant, thinking we can just keep it going. Whereas confidence, I think, has an accurate estimation of the environment around us, right? That SWOT analysis, SWOT, our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities and threats. It has a realistic estimation of, based on facts, based on the current trends, the current environment, our own abilities, the competition, all of those things come into play. That even if we have success, we have to realize there's always somebody coming up, right? There's always changes in the market. There's always changes in the environment,
right?
And confidence knows how to stay within what Stephen Covey said was the circle of influence, rather than getting out into that circle of concern.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah, that's what we're saying is confidence is not the problem. A company that grows and even gets big is not the problem. It's the, like you said, the spirit of greed, maybe even allowing that spirit to become a part of us. And like you said, forgetting that original effort that it took to get to where we are, assuming that's just going to, it just occurred to me as we're talking here. I think even Jim Collins talks about the flywheel. And the whole idea of a flywheel is it takes a lot of effort up front to get it going, but once it's going, you don't have to have the same amount of effort. I think there's
Right.
an inherent negative connotation to that whole thing, and that is, well, once the flywheel's going, I can move on to another flywheel,
Hmm.
or I can assume that this
Yeah.
flywheel is going to continue to go. And so we start heaping on these additional things that we add, undisciplined, and soon we're headed to the third step, which we will talk about first Tuesday of next month.
Yeah. So Scott, you've been through quite a bit in your journey and experienced this both as a CEO, COO, coach, and so there's a lot that you've experienced. What have you found are some of the results of greed?
Well, it closes off. You mentioned that arrogance puffs up, and I think that's true. In fact, that's true. There's a it's all about me kind of a thing in arrogance. What I think, ironically, is also going on is it's constricting. Your opportunity that you wake up every morning, it's a brand new day. You have all kinds of opportunity. But the moment you start getting greedy, you're closing off that opportunity because you're looking for something specific and nothing satisfies. And so, and I don't know, I've been around arrogant individuals. I've been around people who are greedy in the negative sense, and I just don't want to be around them. Now, if I'm a leader and I'm that way, you can imagine my staff. If I were like that, always all about me, I'm going to start wondering what happened to all my staff. Or worse yet, they haven't left, but emotionally they've checked out. So I think that's one of the results of greed. It begins to constrict, and you're not as flexible as you think you are. It's a weird kind of a paradox.
There's some deception there.
Exactly. There's a lot of deception. Yeah. And that goes to what you were saying, the awareness, doing a SWOT analysis. Maybe what we need to do as successful leaders is don't let a week go by without a SWOT of your own leadership.
Yeah. So one thing that comes to mind is are only successful people or successful organizations greedy? Or could there be unsuccessful people or organizations or startups that may not have hit stage one yet, really? I mean, they haven't really had a lot of success, but they're still greedy. I mean, is that a possibility? Is stage one always a prerequisite, or is success always a prerequisite to greed, or is there other ways it could happen?
That's interesting. Can you skip step one and go straight to greed? I think it's important to be careful about what we're talking about here. A startup. I think there's something to be said for hunger versus greed, and I think it's wise and it's admirable for a leader to be hungry, to going after something and solving a problem in this world and creating a process that's better and smoother and easier. In my opinion, I think success starts it all. I think success, if I keep failing and failing and failing, I'm eventually going to try to find something else to do. But if I succeed, I think we grossly underestimate what is really going on when we succeed. And I think it's worth slowing down. I think there's a mode of operating on the heels of a success that just gets skipped over time and time again. And so I think that's where it starts. I think that's where it all starts.
So another interesting question here: could there be an organization that doesn't have greed?
I think that every organization has an element of greed because an organization is made up of human beings. And we can point to some tremendous organizations out there, and they would be good examples of great organizations. However, we can never escape this human condition that we're in. We live in this world where our natural inclination is to be all about ourselves. Mm-hmm. And if you're serving in America, for example, there is a tremendous amount of pressure. And all you have to do is watch TV for a half hour and watch a few commercials and get the idea. If you look at it critically, it's about you. I mean, it's the car that you need to drive. I watched the commercial the other day. It says, "You've got a garage to fill." And my wife and I looked at each other, serious? But it's all about pushing for us. And so, you get a team of 5 on your staff who are now leading 30 people. You got 35 plus yourself. That's a lot of humanity. And I don't say that as a doomsday kind of thing. I think it's worth mentioning because it's something you can never ease up on. I think it's best for a leader to recognize it and nip it in the bud and recognize and help their staff and therefore the employees to get used to seeing what greed can actually do.
Yeah. So if I'm a leader and I'm listening to this as a podcast, or I'm watching this on YouTube, and I start to think, I wonder if a few of those signs are me. I wonder if I'm greedy, or I just recognize maybe I've had the undisciplined pursuit of more, which is quite the sign there. And I start to recognize that, or I start to feel that I'm going down now. What can I do? What can I do if I'm a leader that notices this going on?
I would go back to the roots. What led to the success in the first place? What are the elements of the culture? What are the practices? What is your original flywheel? Get clear on that. And then with that clarity, it's almost like build those glasses and then look at what you're doing through the lens of what made you successful. Here's an example. An organization who is growing and bringing on more salespeople, they realize that they're all carrying these bulky, heavy projectors, having to check them online through security when they go to fly and everything. So someone mentions that there's this neat new little projector that's very light and very capable. And so the leader says, well, it makes sense. We should get one for everybody. Sure, they're $1,200 a piece, and I've got 30 salesmen. But imagine how much easier it will be for them to travel. Okay, that's a pursuit of more. You're now in a depreciation. You've got all these items in inventory, not to mention the cash went out to pay for that. Or worse yet, the credit card and the interest payments if you didn't pay off your credit cards. But the question is, get that set of glasses, the binoculars, the lens through which and evaluate that pursuit of more, that one little element of more, and say, how does the purchase of all these little projectors keep us successful? Now, you may end up with the same conclusion.
Yeah.
And it may be by going through that exercise, the leader who's listening or watching this and thinking, I think I am involved in an undisciplined pursuit of more, may find out that for the most part they aren't. It's just they haven't consciously made decisions on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that if you're feeling it, if you're wondering, then you are disconnected somewhere, and you need to reconnect to that what made you successful.
Yeah, and so I have a last question here, as we're kind of going on to the end, and you and I are both second generation in business leaders. So you have second generation leaders where maybe they're not business owners, but maybe they're leaders of any organization, and they are the second generation or third generation, or maybe they are a second generation in business. So they're the actual owners, right? And so now I've worked in several companies as a coach with these second generation people, and I found that this is an easy one. This step two, stage two here is an easy one to have, because they don't know a lot of times what some of the disciplines were that started the first 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And now they've tasted success. So they've come in riding success.
Right.
And that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
Right. And so now they just keep going with the way things are. So they're pursuing more. And it's maybe a little tougher to get back to those original disciplines because they don't even know what some of them are. They haven't been practiced in a long time.
And then you add family, the family element to that, and that can be a real dicey situation if you're not careful. If there's not a mutual respect already among the family members. But yeah, coming in saying, yeah, this is a great company. We get to do all kinds of stuff now. That gave us the company. We're running it. And although I think, there's nothing like the MBA of real world experience, experience could be downfall to a company. Yeah, that is definitely a danger to watch out for. And I would say that if there are any first generation leaders listening or watching, make it a priority as a part of your succession plan, not just to train someone how to do what needs to be done, but indoctrinate them into the disciplines that took place that led you to where you are now. Yeah.
It's really good.
Well, this has been great. So we encourage everybody listening or watching to visit servingstrong.com/2, and you can spell out the word 2 or the number 2. There's where we're kind of congregating a little bit with some of the stuff that will pop up there, and hang with us. This is a work in process, and we're meeting at noon Eastern, the first and third Tuesday of every week. So our admonition is for you to ask yourself, based on what you've listened to and heard today, what are you going to do the next 2 weeks that will make a difference in keeping you from falling and help you develop the inner strength you need to navigate a volatile economy? Okay. Well, Tim.
All right.
Good to talk to you again.
All right.
Have
a great day, everybody.
Our next one, we will be talking about the denial of risk and peril. Denial. Here's to denial. So you want to be sure to tune into that one.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Good.
Talk to you later.
Okay.